Good afternoon, gentlemen and ladies. This afternoon we are going to focus on the private sector initiatives. In the morning you heard there was a focus on government initiatives. So now we are moving on to the private sector. I'm sure you also heard from the morning speakers, the morning FAO speakers, the emphasis they placed on development of the private sector and collaboration with the private sector in trying to reduce post-harvest losses. We'll start with, that's Mira, Metha. She's going to talk about growing more to waste less, and she is going to talk about a private sector solution.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mira Metha. I'm the CEO and Managing Director of Tomato Jos. We are a Nigerian processing company that makes tomato paste in Nigeria. But before I talk about my company, I want to introduce you to my friend Danlami. So Danlami is actually my neighbor in Panda, Nigeria, where I live. He's a smallholder farmer. He farms about 1.5 hectares of vegetables, tomato and other crops. And farming is his major subsistence way of life. So he doesn't do anything else, but farming is really his major income. But Danlami faces a number of challenges in the market. So first, when he goes to the market to buy seeds and fertilizer, oftentimes he can't afford to get the high quality seed that will be higher yielding, and sometimes the right fertilizer or the right pesticide may not even be available in the market. Where we stay is very remote. I'm about 2.5 hours outside of Abuja, and the roads are very bad, so we don't get a lot of good agronomy services and agro dealers to come our way. Second of all, there's the problem, as we've been talking about today, of post-harvest loss. So, Danlami farms tomatoes. When he is ready to harvest his crop, it's often at the same time as many of the other farmers around him. So everybody's coming to the market at the same time, and the price of the tomatoes will drop. So sometimes, if Danlami can't get a good price for his tomatoes, he may still have to sell them anyway at a loss. And Nigeria, like Cameroon and like other countries we've talked about, has a big problem with post-harvest loss of the tomato value chain. Over half of the tomatoes rot before they get to the market. So because Danlami can't guarantee a market for his tomatoes, he doesn't even have the incentive to try and go and buy better inputs, because he wouldn't even know if he could sell them anyway. So this is not just a problem for Danlami, but it's a problem for over 1.5 million tomato farmers in rural Nigeria. As Wei said, they suffer. Tomatoes in particular are much more perishable than maize or wheat. You can't store it. You really have to sell it right away. This means that middlemen end up making a lot of money, and it means that the price of tomato is very volatile over the course of the year, but even in the course of a month. For example, Salah, or the Eid celebration in July, everybody eats tomatoes at that time of year. The price of a basket, which is about 50 kilograms, was 20,000 naira. That's $100. And the next week, it was down to 4,000 naira. So it's really a lot about timing, but if you can't time the market, if your harvest is ready to go on that day, you can't capture that price. So you might wonder why people keep farming. Why do these 1.5 million farmers still try? Why don't they do something else? Well, the market is huge. The need for tomatoes and the demand for tomato products in Nigeria is insatiable. As you all know, Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa, and tomatoes are a major part of pretty much every dish, from stew to soup to moi moi to jollof rice. You're going to find both fresh tomato and tomato paste as a key ingredient. With the increasing urbanization of Nigeria, now about 50% of the population lives in cities, convenience foods are becoming more and more important. So if you live in the village, you can go every market day, every 3 days, every 4 days, and you can buy your tomato, your onion for those days. And then the next market day, you go back. if you live in a city, you may only be buying groceries once a week or once every 2 weeks. And so the need for packaged foods and the need for convenience foods that you can get home and you can still make a meal is becoming more and more important. But as we all know, Nigeria is a major producer of oil, and the agricultural sector has really lagged over the last few decades. So even though Nigerians eat something like 2.5 kilograms of paste per person per year, there's no local production capacity in the country. All of that tomato paste, $1.2 billion worth of paste, is imported. So our idea isn't rocket science. Basically, we're saying, look, tomatoes go bad, tomatoes can go to waste, but tomato paste can keep. So what if we could capture that post-market loss, those tomatoes from the farmers, not only capture that waste, but actually encourage the farmers to grow more and to be more productive, and at the same time provide consumers with a domestic product and reduce the burden of imports for Nigeria. And so that's exactly what we're trying to do. Our approach spans the full value chain for tomatoes. So we start with what we call a bundled solution for our smallholder farmers. We really try and hold them by the hand and walk them through every aspect of the business, from the seedling to the sale of their tomatoes. In order to do that, we have to make sure that we're able to produce a quality tomato at the end of the day. So a lot of our focus comes onto quality of the tomatoes that they're growing. And then finally, that quality is transferred into a value-add product, retail tomato paste, that we sell in the domestic market. So I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive in each of those three areas before wrapping up. First, as I said, the bundled solution for our farmers. We work in northern Nigeria. Well, if you're in the south, you would call us the north. Technically, it's not Boko Haram territory, but it's about 2 hours north of Abuja. There's a lot of tomato farming out there, and the lingua franca, the language most people speak, is Hausa. So we've called our system the Dami system. Dami means bundle in Hausa, and it represents the idea that we're providing education and inputs and transport services at the farm gate to the farmer. So they don't have to go looking for this fertilizer or that pesticide, and they don't have to worry about which seed to buy, but we're bringing it all to them. We visit them every week, so we have our own set of extension services through lead farmers, and we make sure that their irrigation is on track, their fertilizer is on track. One thing that we've noticed since we've started our company is that there's not a lot of measurement right now with these smallholder farmers. Some of them don't even know if they're profitable or not, because they're not measuring how much they're doing, how much labor they're using. Maybe they're using their kids as labor, they're not tracking that. Maybe they don't know how much they're spending on fuel for the pumping machine when they're doing irrigation. So we're helping them to capture the cost of their farming process so they can actually see whether or not the dummy system can make them more profitable. But of course, in order to do that, we have to make sure that we're giving them a system that works. Now, Nigerian farmers, as the FAO will tell you, are among the most unproductive farmers in the world, well below Kenya. Nigeria is about 70 years behind Kenya in terms of its agricultural practices. Even Ghana, a neighboring state that also has very unproductive farmers, is much more productive than Nigeria. The average Nigerian farmer uses 5% of the global average amount of fertilizer applied. The average farmer, like Danlami, yields about 7 tons per hectare for a tomato. The global average is 35. And in California, which is the most productive tomato region in the world, the average is 120. So there's nowhere to go but up. But we realize that you can't just take a California system and transplant it in Nigeria. That's not going to work. So the model farm is where we do innovation and research every season, trying to figure out what are the seeds that are going to work in Nigeria? What are the irrigation practices that we can step down to farmers? What's the right method of education? Is it weekly visits? Is it something else? Is it cooperatives? Is it something else? So we're constantly innovating on our own farm, which also serves as a demonstration for our farmers to make sure that we can really deliver a solution that's relevant to Nigeria. And then finally, the value add. So this is the piece that makes us able to be profitable. As I said, we're a for-profit company. We are socially driven, but at the end of the day, we have a responsibility to our shareholders and our investors. The reason that we're able to do what we do is because we're creating a value-add product. And the reason that we can go out to so many farmers is because you actually need 6 tons of tomatoes to get 1 ton of tomato paste. So, you might think, oh, why are we growing more to waste less? Well, we actually need the farmers to become more productive and to give us higher quality products that we can then turn into a product that will replace the imports in the consumer market. From a branding perspective, the term tomato Jos is a very clearly Nigerian term. Jos is a city in Nigeria which is known for tomato production, and the tomatoes from Jos fetch a premium in the Lagos market because of the name. And the term tomato Jos also is popular in local Nigerian pidgin. It means a cute girl. So we have a lot of fun with the branding, making the name relevant, making the name stick, and making people really believe that this is a quality, fun Nigerian product that they can believe in. So at the end of the day, as I said, we're a double bottom line company. We've structured our business so that we can only be profitable if the farmers are profitable. Danlami, who's down there on the bottom right with me, is now one of our lead farmers, and he's helping us to work with and educate the next crop of farmers in our program. We're starting our 2nd season this month, and we're very excited to see how we continue to grow. So thanks so much for your time, and I look forward to the discussion.
Can we call upon the presenters to come over so we can have a discussion? I'll just pick a few points that interested me. The presentations were tomatoes in Nigeria, packaging in Burundi, and fish in Uganda. And in Nigeria, we gathered that there are often market gluts with no guaranteed markets. So there are no incentives for farmers to invest in production of tomatoes. Yet there is actually a huge demand for the tomatoes. We're told that there's 1.2 billion US dollars, not Naira, 1.2 US billion dollars worth of business, imported tomato paste, which could actually be produced locally. So they have this innovation where they're actually going out there. I think I really emulate their bravery. I mean, if I were to be told to go and work in northern Nigeria, I would have a lot of hesitation. But this company is taking the risk, is quite bold, and going out there and trying to change the figures from 7 tons production to 100, not necessarily to 120, but the potential is 120 if we talk about US, compared to the local production of 7 tons. So there is quite a huge gap there. But what I also like most is the empowerment of data capturing to ensure that they can see the profitability of the enterprise. In Burundi, we're told that less than 1%, there's less than 1% of processed products, and most of the material is being imported, and so it's forcing this local innovation of reusing material containers that have already been used for other things. So, but there are lots of risks associated with that. And we also told that importation of packages or packaging material is very expensive, and there are lots of opportunities for using packaging as a loss reduction, post-harvest loss reduction strategy. We also told that there's a need for a cultural mindset in terms of the consumer, so that they appreciate processed products and they increase the consumption. The fish, we hear about fish sausages. It's my first time to hear about this. I hope to taste it one of these days. I particularly liked the motivation of young farmers. I'm sure if we were to sell this example, shining example, to other countries, this is because what I've seen in Africa is that youngsters, they are abandoning agriculture. They're saying there's no money in agriculture. Even in my university, you find students, they kind of moving away from, and they are going into the commercial subjects and all that. They think there's no money in agriculture. But here, we were told that there is now $500,000 worth of a company in 4 years, and they grew from 34 members to more than 1,000. This is quite phenomenal. And they are not just doing it haphazardly, it's quite systematic. They are standardizing their products. I think this is quite commendable. There's also the issue of the business being driven by research and innovation. I think there are lots of things to learn from the examples that we had today, and what private sector can do to transform lives of people, and especially women, according to the last speaker. So can I now call upon contributions from the floor to the panelists here? What I would suggest is that we ask questions.
My question actually is for the lady who gave a presentation on the Jaws tomatoes. How did you tackle the challenge? Because in Kenya there's a project that was being funded by USAID of the value chain, and I wanted to do something on tomatoes, but I went to a company that buys tomatoes, and they told me that they can't buy at the price that I was going to give them, because there's a lot of tomato paste which is cheap that they're getting from China. And now all the paste that I used to make tomato ketchup are imported from China. So the price variation that we're giving to the farmers, was it quite okay or what? And then the second question is for the lady who gave a presentation on the cattle farms. I want to ask her, how bold was she? Because I know introducing a product into the market and talking to the supermarkets, it's quite hard. People are not used to sausages for fish. They're used to sausages made using pork and other tomato, like maybe chicken. How did you decide to test the market, and how were you sure to go ahead and initiate those products made using fish? Thank you very much.
Presentation. I have been working in the fishery sector over a decade, and for the first time I come across someone talking a positive direction. Is something really appreciated. But from the name Cat Farm, definitely I think you raise catfish, isn't it? And if that's the case, how do you process them? Because there is a lot of trick on processing catfish. And I tried to do some applied research on that one, and I stuck somewhere. So probably today you're going to open up the door again. How do you process the catfish? How do you deal with the waste produced from the catfish? And such things.
You've actually hit the nail on the head of what makes or breaks this business. To do a little bit of the math with you guys as a group, the price of tomato paste sold FOB, free on board from China, is right now about $800 a ton of paste. So that means if we're making tomato paste in Nigeria, right now it's costing the farmers, I said, what, $116 per ton? So if you multiply that by 6, the cost of the raw material alone is almost $700 a ton, right? And so the question is, how can you make tomato paste competitive in Nigeria? And you either have to increase the yield so that for the same amount of resources or on the same amount of land, you're producing a much larger quantity of tomatoes, or you have to decrease the cost. But as we know right now, Nigerians are already at the bottom of the spectrum in terms of how much fertilizer and seed and how much they're spending on those inputs. So it's a question of right now, maybe they're spending a total of, in Naira terms, like 50,000 Naira, okay? And they have revenues maybe of, say, 80,000 Naira. right? What we're trying to say is, look, why don't we increase the inputs that you're using? Maybe you're now, instead of spending 50,000 naira, you're spending 150,000 naira. But instead of earning 80,000 naira, maybe you're earning, 5 times more, 10 times more. So the cost basis increases by a factor of 3, but the revenue basis increases by a factor of 10. That enables us, as the manufacturer, to buy tomatoes at about $100 a ton. That's our price. That's what we're trying to aim for. If we can buy at $100 a ton, then we can buy enough tomatoes for a ton of tomato paste at $600 a ton. But remember, the paste coming from China, it's in bulk packages. It's in a 1-ton container. They're going to have to spend more money packaging it into retail packets. If we're able to get it directly into the retail sachets, we save that 10% of cost, and then we're able to sell tomato paste at the same price while still making a profit as the imports. So it's absolutely, the crucial thing in this business is about yield. Dangote and a lot of other large companies are looking at tomato paste right now, but they're all approaching at it from the manufacturing perspective. Dangote has spent about $10 million on a tomato processing facility in Kano, but it's never run one day of production because they don't have the cost metrics right on the raw material. So you're absolutely right. That's the crucial piece of making this business work. Thanks.
I will answer, how did I get through to the market? Yeah, that's a very challenging question, and the way we managed to enter the market was having an innovative product, and we actually didn't have any competitor on the shelf. The fish shelf, actually, even if you walked here into Nairobi markets, they are still empty. The fish shelf is empty, and there is still a gap for you, for me, and for others, if we go into that. When I was introducing the product, I used a platform like this. I was invited to a workshop, and I went, I requested the workshop people to allow me serve my sausages for free. So you have also to inject some little money. So I offered free sausages for breakfast on the menu, and everyone who tested had to leave with a packet of sausages that day. I sold all the sausages I had with me at the exhibition, and all that I had in the plant, they were all sold off. And from that day, I got free publicity. I did not spend money on advertising on TV or radio, because I had something for people to read about. I had something for people to listen to. This is something new. You have to innovate. You have to think harder, and you have not to cheat. Because if, like after one, maybe if I got customers and then I decided to reduce on the ingredients and then compromise on the price, no, I'm still sticking to quality, and I'm innovating every day. I'm changing actually right now is when I'm settling for a brand. After 4 years, I didn't have a brand name, because every day I was seeing a new name. I'm still thinking on the new package that I want to have. I'm very glad FAO invited me here, and I have seen various packaging companies. I already got support from Oxfam. They offered me a business coach, a full-time business coach, and he has already, I also got a branding expert who is from Norway. She's already working on the packaging design. We are done with the packaging design. We are also done with rebranding and all sorts of those things. So right now, I was looking out for the supplier of packaging and packaging machines. So you see how luck can continue following you if you innovate hard. And so now here, FAO has given me a chance to meet directly with the packaging suppliers. Thank you, FAO and other partners. The question about how I process the catfish. I only specialize in 2 species, and that is catfish and tilapia. And processing catfish is not really very difficult. If this gentleman from Tanzania wants to learn from us, we will be very happy to train him or train his group. He can visit our processing plant, but you will work for free because you will be doing training. So you are welcome. And how I handle the issue of waste. Waste is one of my products. As on my list of products, I have a product called pet mince. And pet mince is made from fish offcuts. My main buyer, I only have one company that buys my waste, and that is Uganda Wildlife Authority. They are using fish mince to feed animals and pets. So absolutely the only waste I have in my processing plant is water. The rest is all very useful. Thank you so much.
The question goes to this lady of Uganda. It's about how you raise these faithful suppliers from 34 to over 1,000. And here maybe, and they are so faithful that they just give you the raw materials, which maybe may not be the case here. By the time you go to buy, there will be some other people who will come and will have bought the fish before you get there. Is there no other competitor? Thank you.
Come up with the packaging. You showed us that people are using cast-off bottles, which is also true for our country. So do you have any innovative packaging system for the soya products?
Yes, we have a working relationship. We have an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding with all the farmers as suppliers. And we have some incentives. For example, we offer them fish feed on credit if a farmer wants to. Because I know in order for me to have a continuous supply, I must also get involved in the fish growing and management. So we have fish feeds in store for our farmers to buy, but we also give you on credit if you don't have money and you're already in the process. If you have already started growing, maybe along the way you run out of money, we support you with fish feeds, and of course we already have an MOU with you, so at the end of the harvesting season we come and pick the fish. Our system also is simple in a way that we don't let farmers carry the fish because it is difficult we only buy live fish, we don't buy dead fish. So, and the reasons why we buy live fish is because we want to avoid spoilage and wasting. Farmers don't have the tanks, they don't have the oxygen cylinders to handle the fish and transport it to our processing plant. So we have a staff who is a transporter who is trained in how to harvest fish very well with the help of the farmers at the farm. They carry the fish direct to the processing unit alive. We don't buy dead fish. And we also have, if you need technical support, we have some people who can help you on fish management practices. And the cooperative is actually the one that does the technical, the extension, all those other things. And I'm very sure with that system, it can work with other. I was hearing people talking about the value chain, It is not difficult to manage the value chain. You just, if you're a business person, you're involved in the maize value chain, it's a win-win situation. You have to get involved in the transportation if you want to get good maize transported to you. You ignore the value chain, you only wait for the maize at your factory, you will not get the good quality maize. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.